The golf industry announcing today it's going to reschedule the Ryder Cup and the President's Cup for 2021 and 2022, respectively. As pro sports leagues figure out their COVID-19 playbook, the PGA Tour is turning to a sports tech and analytics startup called Whoop to monitor and detect COVID warning signs in golfers. Joining us now, I'm looking for Will Ahmed, CEO and founder of Whoop. There he is. How do you monitor for COVID-19 symptoms?
Yeah, so we build wearable technology. You can see it here on my wrist. Lightweight sensor. It's designed to measure everything about your body, metrics like sleep and recovery and strain. And more recently, and most importantly, we've been measuring a statistic called respiratory rate. And respiratory rate is really important because we've seen that an elevated respiratory rate can be a predictor of COVID-19. Respiratory rate is typically a very boring statistic. If you look at a year's worth of my data, every single day you'll see the same number of breaths per minute. That's respiratory rate, and we measure it while you're sleeping. And yet what we've seen, and we've done a lot of research on this, John, what we've seen is that when someone gets COVID-19, as early as 3 days before feeling symptoms, they'll have a dramatically elevated respiratory rate, and it just jumps off the screen, 14 every day, and then boom, and 18. So the powerful thing is this shows up for people who are asymptomatic as well. And you mentioned the PGA Tour. Nick Watney, a professional golfer on the PGA Tour, tested negative for COVID-19. 2 days later, he wakes up with this dramatically elevated respiratory rate on Whoop. So his baseline was a 14. All of a sudden, one day he wakes up with an 18. He knows something's up. He feels no symptoms, and he goes and he gets a test, a COVID-19 test, and he tests positive. And if he hadn't seen that elevation in his respiratory rate, he would have been playing all weekend with the best players in the world.
I wonder, what's the false negative rate effectively? I mean, how many times does somebody not have an increased respiratory rate but end up coming down with COVID-19, even if they are asymptomatic? Is there a way of knowing that?
So we've been studying this since early March. We partnered with CQU in collaboration with Cleveland Clinic. We collected about 2,000 data points on this, and we've since submitted research that includes 271 participants. And what we found is that the respiratory rate indicator caught 20% of cases 2 days before symptoms. So that's really powerful because that's going to profoundly prevent the spread. And it caught 80% of cases by the third day of symptoms. So that gives you a sense for the accuracy of this. I mean, I don't want to overstate, there needs to be a number of solutions in place. But what we've seen is that Whoop and measuring respiratory rate in particular can be part of that solution. I mean, I think at the end of the day, everyone should be fighting together to beat this virus.
Well, Will Ahmed, very interesting. CEO and founder of Whoop Sports Technology, able to detect potentially early signs of COVID.